Letting go. Why is it so hard? Even with things that you know are no good, they're not good for you. Why is it so hard to let go? That's what we're going to be talking about today. All right, so letting go of the things that we know are no good. Why is it so challenging? Why does it feel like such a tremendous sacrifice? That's what we're talking about today. So, the number one reason is that you don't have that much practice. So the more you practice something, the more repetition you get, the more skillful you are. So things will seem hard if you haven't engaged in those kinds of behaviors enough. Each time you engage in the behavior, you are going to have more trust in your ability. It's going to feel easier the more you do it. So, very simply, the cure, the remedy for getting blocked by not having enough practice is to simply have the repetition of doing the thing. So you can start by letting go of smaller things that you're not as attached to, and that's going to help build up that muscle and that repetition so that you can start applying it across the board, even with things that feel impossible to let go of. So, the second thing that makes letting go really hard is that we have the wrong ideas about it. So, I've talked about this a little bit around the idea of sacrifice. So, we've been taught that you need to sacrifice something good to get something of a lower vibration. And that's actually the opposite of what true sacrifice is. True sacrifice is letting go of the lower vibrational thing to get the higher vibrational thing. So let me give you an example. Negative use or an inversion of sacrifice would be letting go of your morals to get money or something like that. We were taught things like this as a kid, right? We were taught that, you know, you should let go of your true expression of yourself. Don't be yourself, in other words, so that you can fit in and so that you can just go along to get along and stuff like that, right? Don't stand out. Don't be too smart. Don't be too bright. Don't ask too many questions. Just kind of, be as small as possible to be able to get through the school system or the family system or whatever it was without getting punished too much or bullied too much or things like that. So we have all these wrong ideas, not only about what sacrifice is, but then all that other programming on top of it. So the remedy for that is simply to understand the correct use of this idea of sacrifice, and that is to release a lower vibrational thing or something, in other words, that's not good to get something better. So we naturally are hardwired this way where we want to keep growing, we want to keep getting better. And that means by necessity that we are always going to have to be letting go of the things that aren't good. Okay, for example, when I was a drug addict, I had to let go of that comfort that I had with being in my little, drug cocoon where I didn't have to feel everybody's stuff all the time. I could just kind of numb out to it all. I had to let go of the comfort of that and step into a very uncomfortable place to be able to get myself to a higher expression, because hiding under my little, drug cocoon was not the highest expression of myself. It was a very low vibrational place to be. So, there was an idea in there that, it was too painful and this lower vibrational thing was preferable. There's all kinds of wrong beliefs in there that you can unpack. But the main thing that needs to happen is you have to let go of all of those old belief systems, the thought that you can't handle it, or whatever the beliefs are, and make those corrections at the level of the mind, where you understand, if I let go of this, I'm going to get something better. And I knew that on some level, that I needed to let go of that to be able to do better things. And I did, and it worked, but it was not comfortable. It definitely felt like a sacrifice, but it's not what we're taught about sacrifice. But what I just described is actual sacrifice. How it really works is you let go of the thing that is truly beneath you so that you can become the higher version of yourself, which is essentially your true nature. So you're basically just letting go of stuff that's not in alignment with your true nature so that you can become more in alignment with your true nature. I hope that makes sense. So a lot of times these wrong ideas will end up getting us stuck in a place where letting go of the old thing gets harder than it really needs to be. So if you have limiting beliefs, that's something that you'll have to look at and make those corrections on the mental level. Okay, so here's another thing that gets in the way of letting go, makes it way harder than it needs to be, and that is the subconscious programming that is going to actively work against you every time you go to make a change. Every time you're trying to up-level your game, you're going to bump against all of these old programs that were created as a coping mechanism. Like I said about, when you're a kid and you just try to fit in and you're not really being yourself, you're not being as great as you could be, as amazing and creative and outspoken and just as bright as you could be, you just try to keep your head down. And, that is a coping mechanism that you pick up as a kid. And if you don't correct that program, you're going to keep running this program, which is actually beneath you. You are greater than that program, right? But I'm telling you, the subconscious has a way of being very tricky and getting us to keep going back to the old programs and the old coping mechanisms. So the remedy to that is to simply stay focused on your growth and to recognize that, hey, every time you're working that growth edge, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and the subconscious is going to try to hook you in, and it's going to try to stop you. Because as far as the subconscious mind is concerned, what you're doing is risky, and it's preferable to just stay in this more painful, less empowered and less authentic version of yourself. That would be preferable to making a change to the subconscious mind, not to your true self, but to the subconscious mind. So just know that could come up, and it will come up. It will come up at some point. Okay, one of the ways that the subconscious loves to trick you is number 4, negative feelings. Negative feelings are some of the most effective ways that the subconscious mind has of stopping you from letting go of the thing that you know you need to let go of and going on to the thing that you know is a higher expression of yourself. Okay, so what are some of those negative feelings? Fear. That is the biggest one, the fear of the unknown, right? You're going into uncharted territory. You could feel fearful. You could have worry, doubt, anxiety, depression. You could be like, apathy. Oh, I don't know. I don't feel like it. I don't have the energy. Feeling fatigued. Feeling Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm just, there's so many more, but these are kind of the basic ones, right? It's important to know that it doesn't matter if you feel like you are afraid or not, or if you feel like you're not sure if you can trust something, or you're not sure if this is you're starting to feel anxious, you're doubting yourself. That is all totally normal. That is what the subconscious mind does to stop you. Okay. And all of those negative feelings, this is key. This is the remedy. You have to know that all of those negative feelings are based on something in the past. Okay. So there was a belief, a situation, a whole set of circumstances in the past that led to this feeling coming up now. The feeling of dread, like, oh God, I've decided I'm gonna make this change, and boom, like the dread of like, oh, I'm gonna have to do all this stuff, that right there, like once you make a decision and then a boom, negative feeling comes in, that is your red flag that the subconscious has been triggered and it's trying to stop you. The key, the way that you deal with when the negative feelings come up, okay, process it, do whatever you need to do, but do not let them stop you. Do not ever let a negative feeling stop you from doing the thing that you know you need to do. Like in my case, right? I knew I needed to stop doing those drugs and get my shit together. And I did it. Now, I had negative feelings about it. And I was not successful my first time. I had to do it a few times before I actually was successful. But the key for me was to keep taking action. I had to keep going regardless of how I felt about relapsing, regardless of how I felt about how hard it was going to be to quit. Regardless of any of that, I had to keep acting. And this is exactly what any of us needs to do whenever we're changing something. We're taking something from a lower vibration, we're letting go of it, and we're moving up to a higher vibration. And when I say lower and higher vibration, I'm literally just saying like something that's not as good to something better, better, better. When things are better, they're on a higher vibration. That's just how it is. When things are on a lower vibration, it's going to be worse. You're going to see worse health, worse relationships, worse everything. It affects everything. Everything is on a vibration. All of our choices, we have a choice of moving up or moving down, right? We can be getting better and better, or we can be declining, so those are our options. Nothing is a high or low vibration until it's compared to something else. Then we can say, oh, this is lower, this is higher. Okay, so just to break that down, because I've had questions about that, like, what do you mean by low vibration, high vibration? It's just another way of saying making better choices and making worse choices, right? We all know what that is because we all have an internalized moral compass that tells us whether we're on track or not. And if we miss that for some reason, we will actually be able to have lots of experiences of negative results in our life that come from making negative choices. And if we're making positive choices, high vibrational choices, choices aligned with love and things of that nature, then we will get more and more results that are of that higher frequency. We'll get better results. So it's very simple. I know sometimes this language can seem a little woo-woo or whatever, but it's very simple. So the key to breaking through those negative emotions that try to stop you is to just keep going, keep taking action. Do not let those negative feelings stop you. Have you ever had this experience where, say you made a decision like, I'm going to go do my workout, and then as soon as you decide that, this resistance comes up and it's like, oh, I don't really feel like it, and blah, 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 right? We've all had experiences like that, right? Where we know we need to go do this thing that's good for us, and then boom, the resistance comes in. That negative energy, that negative feeling, the negative thoughts of the resistance, that is the subconscious programming coming up to stop you. The only thing you need to do is keep going. That's the key. Don't listen to it. Don't buy into the idea that you don't want to do it, that you don't have the energy, that you're too scared or it's too overwhelming. It's going to tell you all kinds of things. The key is to not agree with it, okay? So that is the main thing that I wanted to say today about why it's so hard to let go. So just to recap, you are not going to be very good at doing anything if you don't have practice. So practice letting go. Practice letting go of your, negative thoughts, negative feelings. Practice letting go of your judgments. Practice letting go of things on a regular basis. Maybe you say something negative. Practice letting go of that and say, you know what? Nope. I'm deleting that. I'm letting go. I'm not putting that out there into the world. Delete that, right? Practice letting go, and then you're going to get really strong when it comes to having to let go of things that you feel a really strong attachment to. And your attachment really just comes from a wrong idea, right? That was number 2, is that you have wrong ideas about things. You can practice correcting those wrong ideas, just like I did in that example, saying something negative. Hey, you know what? Delete that. I'm gonna put this thought or this word out into the field of creation instead. I'm gonna just make a correction. The third thing I talked about was coping mechanisms, aka the subconscious programming. You need to know that this stuff is going to come up. It can be really insidious sometimes, and it's basically a control freak that is into safety and keeping you small. So the way that you get through that is you keep focusing on your growth and really set your sights on the positive thing. And that's going to give you the inspiration that you need to deal with number 4, which are the negative feelings that come up that the subconscious will use to try to stop you. And so the key to breaking through that is just to not agree and keep taking action. So if you do these things, you will be practicing the true meaning of the word sacrifice, which when you break it down means to make sacred. So sacrifice isn't about like killing animals and blood and guts and all this stuff. It's not about that. It is an esoteric internal process about letting go of the lower nature to achieve the realization and the actualization in this world of the higher Holy Spirit self, the Christ consciousness. That's what sacrifice really is. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.